So you want to know the truth, the real truth, not the stuff Kenworth says in their brochure, not the stuff Peterbilt posts on their website, the stuff that actual drivers, people who have spent 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles behind the wheel of both these trucks stop at 2 in the morning. That is what this is. That is stop at 2 in the morning. That is what this is. Going to make people uncomfortable. Some of this is going to make people uncomfortable. Some of you watching this are diehard Peterbilt people. Some of you would rather walk home than drive a Kenworth. And some of you are the exact opposite. That is fine. Stay with me. Because by the end of this, you are going to know something about these two trucks that nobody else is going to tell you straight. Let's get into it. First things first. Here is the secret that the entire industry quietly knows, but almost nobody says out loud. Peterbilt and Kenworth are not rivals. They are sisters. They are literally owned by the same company. PACCAR Incorporated bought Kenworth in 1945 and Peterbilt in 1958. And they have owned both ever since. Same engineering team, same parts supply chain, same engine, same transmission options, same dealer support structure behind both badges. Think about that for a second. The two trucks that truckers argue about more than anything else in this industry, the two trucks people have tattoos of, the two trucks people build entire identities around, they come from the same factory floor, the same parts catalog, and the same parent company boardroom. So right away, before we even talk about a single feature or a single spec, you need to understand that. Because the moment you understand that, the whole debate changes. It stops being Peterbilt versus Kenworth, and it starts being something much more interesting. It becomes a question of personality, of philosophy, of who you are and what you value and what you need from a truck at the end of a 1,000-mile day. Now let's talk about the engine. Because this is where it gets really interesting and where most people get it completely wrong. Both trucks run the PACCAR MX-13. That is a 12.9-liter inline-six diesel engine, and it is one of the best engines ever put in a Class 8 truck. But here is what most people do not know. That same engine does not produce the same numbers in both trucks. In a Peterbilt, the MX-13 is tuned to produce up to 605 horsepower and 2,050 pound-feet of torque. In a Kenworth, that same block, that same engine is tuned to top out at 510 horsepower and 1,850 pound-feet. Same engine, different tune, different numbers. And that tells you something really important about each brand's philosophy. Peterbilt says, we trust you, here is everything this engine can give you, go use it. Kenworth says, we are going to optimize this for efficiency and longevity and total cost of operation over the long term. Neither one of those is the wrong answer. They are just different answers. And which answer is right depends entirely on what you are doing with the truck. Okay. Now let's talk about how these two trucks actually look and feel. Because this is where the real personality difference shows up, and this is where drivers fall in love or do not. Walk through any truck stop in America and you can spot a Peterbilt from the far end of the parking lot. The long hood, the red oval badge, the chrome exhaust stacks, the bird ornaments sitting on top of the hood like it owns the place. Peterbilt designed their trucks to make a statement, and they do. They absolutely do. When you walk toward a Peterbilt 389 or a classic 379 at sunset with the chrome catching the light, there is nothing else in the world that looks like that. It is not a truck. It is a piece of American identity on wheels. Kenworth is different. Kenworth does not care if you notice it across the parking lot. Kenworth cares whether you are less tired when you get out of the cab after a 14-hour day than you were when you got in. Kenworth's design is ergonomic first, aesthetic second. Every control, every switch, every surface, every seat angle. It was designed by engineers who actually rode along with real drivers on real routes and watched where fatigue builds up and where frustration comes from. And then they fixed it. Now, some of you are going to say, I do not want ergonomic. I want my truck to look like something. And I completely understand that. But I want you to think about this. On day one of a new truck, both trucks feel amazing. On day 300, on mile 200,000 O's in all, on the third week of a brutal run, what you are going to care about most is whether your back hurts and whether your brain is fried by the time you pull into the terminal. And that is where Kenworth starts winning arguments it lost on day one. Let us go inside the cab now, because this is where the two brands most clearly go their separate ways. Get inside a Peterbilt 579 with the Ultra Loft sleeper package, and your first reaction is going to be, this is not a truck. This is an apartment. The ceiling is high. The space is genuinely massive. There are premium materials everywhere. Stitch seating, wood grain finishes. The fit and finish feel expensive because they are expensive. Peterbilt builds their interiors to impress you the moment you sit down, and they succeed every single time. The Ultra Loft supports a 32-inch television. The seats feel like furniture, not equipment. When you are at a truck stop and someone walks past your open cab door and their jaw drops a little, that is a Peterbilt doing exactly what it was designed to do. Now get inside a Kenworth T680 with the driver's studio sleeper. Your first reaction might be, okay, this is nice, but it is more restrained than the Peterbilt. And you would be right. The materials are not quite as visually flashy. The space is slightly smaller than the Ultra Loft, but then you start noticing things. The passenger seat rotates. Comes a full work from the road office. The controls fall exactly where your hand goes without you having to reach. The insulation in the walls and ceiling is so good that highway noise becomes almost irrelevant. And after a long day, when you lay down in that bunk, you realize the vibration you absorbed all day was less than you expected. And the next morning, your body does not feel like it fought the truck all day. It just feels like you drove. Here's the honest truth about interiors that drivers only admit when they have owned both. Peterbilt wins on first impression every single time. Kenworth wins on month 3 of a tough schedule. Which one matters more to you is something only you know. Let us talk money. Because money is real and money matters, and there is a lot of noise around this topic that we need to cut through. New Peterbilt trucks run between roughly $160,000 and $210,000 depending on spec and model. New Kenworth trucks are in a similar range, around $170,000 to $205,000 Dow. So the purchase price gap is smaller than most people think. Running costs are nearly identical because they share the same PACCAR parts and service infrastructure. Annual maintenance for either truck averages around $15,000 a year for a well-run operation. But here is where things get interesting. Peterbilt's premium interior components cost more to repair and replace over time. That beautiful leather trim and wood grain finish adds real money to your repair bills when things get worn or damaged after a few years of heavy use. Kenworth's more practical interior materials are cheaper to maintain and easier to keep looking presentable after hard miles. And now here is the thing that actually changes the financial math for owner-operators more than anything else. Resale value. Peterbilt trucks command a measurably higher price on the used market. A well-maintained Peterbilt 389 or 579 will sell for more money faster to more buyers than an equivalent Kenworth. That resale advantage can completely offset Peterbilt's higher maintenance costs over a 5 to 7 year ownership cycle. And for some configurations, it actually puts more total money in your pocket than Kenworth would have saved you on fuel. So here is the rule that real fleet managers and experienced owner-operators actually live by, even if they never say it this directly. If you are running a fleet and you care about total cost per mile over a large number of trucks and a large number of years, buy Kenworth. If you are an owner-operator who is going to live in this truck, make it yours, and sell it in 5 to 7 years, buy Peterbilt. Both are the financially correct answer for their buyer. Neither is wrong. Now here is something that almost nobody talks about when they compare these two trucks. Reliability. And specifically, which one actually lasts longer. The honest answer is that both trucks, with proper maintenance, will exceed 1 million miles on the PACCAR MX-13 engine. That is not a marketing claim. That is documented real-world experience from thousands of owner-operators and fleet operators. The engine is the same. The drivetrain components come from the same supply chain. The engineering behind both trucks was done by the same parent company. 1 million miles is achievable in either brand if you take care of the truck. Where drivers notice differences is in consistency. Kenworth owners will often tell you their trucks feel the same on day one and day one. Every system, every switch, every feel of the truck is exactly what they expect every single day. Peterbilt owners will tell you their trucks feel more alive, more personnel, more individual, but occasionally more quirky. A Peterbilt has a personality in a way that a Kenworth does not. And for some drivers, that personality is exactly what they love, and for other drivers, it is exactly what drives them crazy. Technology. Let us talk about where these two trucks are headed, because this is the debate of the next decade, not just today. Kenworth has been faster to bring new technology to market. The digital vision mirror system, which replaces your side mirrors entirely with cameras and interior display screens, that is a Kenworth innovation available right now on the T680. The Truck Tech Plus remote diagnostic system pushes updates and alerts to the driver, the fleet manager, and the dealer simultaneously without any action required from the driver. And the 15-inch Driver Connect touchscreen on the electric models is the most sophisticated driver information system in the Class 8 segment today. Peterbilt's approach is different. Peterbilt moves more carefully. They wait until a technology is genuinely proven and refined before they put it in front of their customers. The SmartLink diagnostic system, the 13-inch smart display, the Bendix Fusion safety suite, all of these are best in class. They are just adopted at a more measured pace, whether you see that as Peterbilt being behind or Peterbilt being careful depends on whether you have ever been let down by first-generation technology on a truck you were counting on. And in the electric truck segment, which is the new battlefield that is going to define both brands for the next 30 years, Kenworth currently has the range advantage. The T680E is rated at over 200 miles of range. The Peterbilt 579 EV is rated between 100 and 200 miles. Both use the same PACCAR electric powertrain, producing up to 605 horsepower and one settle 850 pound-feet of instant torque. But right now, today, if you are buying electric and range matters, Kenworth leads. Now I want to spend a minute on something that nobody in this industry is willing to say directly. And it is the most important thing I am going to say in this entire video. Most people who will passionately defend one of these brands over the other have only ever seriously driven one of them. Brand loyalty in trucking is almost entirely inherited. Your first truck was probably a Kenworth because that is what the company you started with ran. Or your father drove a Peterbilt, and so you drove a Peterbilt, and so you are a Peterbilt person for life. The truck you learned on is the truck your driving style and your instincts and your habits were built around. And switching brands after that feels deeply wrong even when there is absolutely nothing wrong with it. That is not a criticism. That loyalty is real and it means something. But it is important to know that it is loyalty born from familiarity, not necessarily from objective comparison. The driver who has seriously owned and run both a Peterbilt and a Kenworth for significant miles will almost always give you a much more nuanced answer than the driver who has only ever driven one brand. And that nuanced answer usually sounds like this: they are both incredible trucks, and which one is right depends entirely on what you are doing and who you are. So let us bring this home. Here is the most direct, honest answer I can give you about Peterbilt versus Kenworth. If you are running a fleet operation and you are thinking about total cost per mile, driver fatigue reduction over a long period, technology adoption, and aerodynamic fuel efficiency, Kenworth is probably your truck. It will save money, it will keep drivers fresher, and it will absorb new technology faster than any other Class 8 truck on the road. If you are an owner-operator, is your truck with your name on the door, your home away from home, your investment that you are going to sell in 5 years, Peterbilt is probably your truck. The resale value is better. The interior impression is better. The customization culture is unmatched. And every single time you walk across a parking lot toward it, it looks exactly like what it is. It looks like the king of the road. And here is the final truth that drivers never tell you. The real reason people argue about these two trucks so intensely, the reason the debate never ends, the reason there are Peterbilt people and Kenworth people and never just truck people, is because both trucks are so good that your choice between them says more about you than it does about either truck. Peterbilt, Kenworth, different personalities, same bloodline. Both extraordinary, the world's best. Quality without compromise. Two slogans. One parent, no wrong answer. That is the real truth.